Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Russia, and I want to share some updates from the Ukraine war with you guys today. Not too much information coming out, as most of the media attention is being directed towards what's happening in the Middle East with Israel and Iran right now. But I do have a few details I can share with you guys. We're actually going to talk about this man here on your screen. His name is Abdi Aladinov. He's the commander of the HIMARS Special Forces unit fighting on behalf of Russia. And he's putting out a message today. He was recording himself in a video, and I'll show it to you guys in just a moment, calling on the Russian government to start mass mobilization in regards to what's happening in the Middle East. So look at your screen here. Chechen Special Forces commander calls for mass mobilization in Russia. Russia must announce mass mobilization and enlist at least 500,000 to 1 million people to avoid sharing Iran's fate, said Abdi Aladinov, commander of the HIMARS Special Forces unit. So the HIMARS Special Forces, they're also known as the Kadyrovites. You guys may have heard of that before, but they come out of Chechnya and they're fighting with Russia, and a lot of times they've been operating in the Kursk region. That's usually where their unit is fighting at. And I'll show you guys this video in just a moment. So that's what he's calling for, is mass mobilization in Russia due to what's happening in the Middle East. Maybe he's afraid that Russia might be attacked in a similar way. And, Russia definitely is vulnerable right now to some sort of major attack. They're heavily at war with Ukraine, and they're seeing what's happening to Iran, and Israel is just completely obliterating them with Western munitions that are being provided by the U.S., and Iran is definitely losing the fight right now. They're getting hammered very hard, and we're still waiting to see if Iran is going to be responding here soon. And probably by the time you guys see this video, maybe Iran is already launching missiles at Israel, as we're hearing that could be starting very soon. We also have reports that a Russian Su-25 was shot down in eastern Ukraine. I'm going to show you guys some video footage on that, and you'd be surprised. It actually wasn't Ukraine that shot it down. You could be thinking about what possibly it could be that shot down that Russian Su-25. So another major loss for Russian aviation in the last week, as we've been hearing so many reports of Russian fighter jets either being shot down, destroyed on the airfields, and now we have another one that was shot down today. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to hop in over here to War Translated on X. Commander of Akhmat, Abdi Aladinov, urged Russia's leadership to launch a mass mobilization, calling to draft up to 1 million people, claiming the Third World War has already begun. Okay, so 1 minute clip, guys. It will have subtitles at the bottom. He is not speaking English, so read the subtitles.
Я считаю, конечно, это мое личное мнение, что нам надо объявлять мобилизацию. Нам надо готовить заранее минимум 500 тысяч, а так реально 1 миллион человек призвать и начать их готовить. Готовить их к тому, что уже началась война, которую мы-то и так знаем, что она идет, Третья мировая война, но она уже обрела новые виток и новые обороты. И для того, чтобы никто не вздумал с нами вот так играться, как поигрались со всеми государствами, теперь уже и с Ираном, поверьте мне, нам надо всем все-таки сплотиться на всех наших уровнях. Я считаю...
All right, so it makes you wonder if this Russian commander here is so concerned about maybe an attack from NATO or some other enemy to Russia, that if the Kremlin is thinking about the same thing. I mean, I'm sure they're sitting back. Vladimir Putin is probably watching what's happening to Iran right now, just getting completely obliterated by Israel. And, even their air defenses that Russia had sent over to Iran, a lot of them have been destroyed. They've received like S-300s, S-400 air defense systems over there. Many of them have been hit and already destroyed by Israel. And I'm sure Russia is now concerned about this. And this is what Abdi Aladinov is talking about here. He believes that World War III has already begun. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think World War III has begun? Or do you think this will just be kind of a one and done scenario with what's happening with Iran? Iran maybe might lose the fight against Israel. Who knows what's going to happen here? And then we'll kind of just move on from there. Or do you guys think this is the beginning of World War III? But nonetheless, crazy developments happening right now. Now for more translated, it turns out a Russian Su-25 was shot down by its wingman in another aircraft during a launch of unguided aviation rockets near Soledar. Okay, so this is in eastern Ukraine today. That's being reported in the Donetsk region. And we had two Russian Su-25s flying right next to each other. And what it looks like in the video here is one of the wingmans shot down their this other fighter jet flying right next to him, an Su-25. So take a look at this. All right, so this got to be one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. So I'm going to roll this back just a little bit. And if you notice, this fighter jet in the back, he starts to fire some unguided rockets. And it looks like he struck this other aircraft right here, causing him to spin out. And if you notice, the pilot did eject. I think that's him right over there with his parachute just in the background. So it looks like we had another friendly fire attack here from the Russians, where they shot down one of their own Su-25s. And I think these things are right around like $25 million. And here's a report from War Translated also. Reports indicate Russia's lost another Su-25. Everything is fine. And Fighter Bomber on Telegram, this is a Russian Telegram channel, confirmed this. Su-25 crashed. The pilot was saved. Everything is fine. And if you notice, they just state that he crashed. They didn't state that he was shot down by his own teammate, right? So now for Max 25, Makivka, video reports of HIMARS MLRS strike on military KAMAZ and buses with Russian soldiers, more than 20 people killed and many wounded. So Makivka is going to be over here in the eastern side of Ukraine, also in the Donetsk region, not too far away from Soledar. It's actually connected to the major city of Donetsk. And you're going to be able to see a fire right there on one of these buses. There was a KAMAZ truck there right after. And you can see shrapnel also. And apparently Ukraine fired some HIMARS MLRS rockets over here, striking a bunch of Russian soldiers that were being transported on buses. I'm not sure if maybe they were injured or what was going on. Maybe they were taking them to the front line. But Ukraine carried out a strike over here and struck some of these buses full of Russian soldiers. According to this information, 20 people killed, many wounded. Now from Raging 545, it is being reported that Ukrainian drones last night attacked the Russian airbase in Vardiske in occupied Crimea. NASA firm shows a large heat signature to the northeast of the base. This is where the munitions and fuel storage facilities as well as aircraft quarters are located. Okay, so there was some reports last night the Ukraine did fire some drones down to Crimea. I'm not sure if mainland Russia was being attacked. Here's a fire firms map showing a fire here at one of these air bases in Vardiske, if I'm pronouncing that right, down in Crimea. So we did have some air bases being attacked down here, drones attacking military targets. Just a couple of these satellite images showing what was being attacked here. There's the location of that air base kind of in southern central Crimea. Okay, so we did have attacks happening down here. Now from NOAA reports, Russia has not entered Dnipropetrovsk region. The operational command Kortitsia denies reports suggesting otherwise, responding to a New York Times publication. Yeah, so the New York Times is reporting today that allegedly the Russians have reached the Dnipropetrovsk region, which is right next to the Donetsk region. So Donetsk region would be right in here. I think this would be Dnipropetrovsk right up here in this area. It's kind of hard to tell on this map, but we did have this report today. This was on New York Times, and it says Russian forces expand fighting to a new region of eastern Ukraine. And the first time in 3 years of war, the Russian troops have entered the Dnipropetrovsk region, a sign of battlefield momentum. Yeah, so that's what New York Times is reporting today. But Ukraine's ground forces, the Kortitsia forces, announcing that that is not the case. The Russians have not reached the Dnipropetrovsk region. And we reported just in the last week that the Russians were getting very close. I think they were like maybe within a mile or so away from reaching the border of that region. So it'd be the region directly behind the Donetsk region, which the Russians have been fighting in for a long time now. Now from next, a bus with Ukrainians overturned in northwest of France. There are fatalities. In this terrible accident, 4 people died, 11 others were seriously injured, and 34 passengers sustained minor injuries. The relatives of the deceased will be able to visit the Chapel of Rest, which has been set up in the commune of Degré, if I'm saying that right, reports BFM TV. So these were pictures of a bus that was packed with Ukrainians in northwest of France. And we had this horrible bus accident. You can see a lot of emergency crews showing up on the scene to help people out as this bus overturned into a ditch. You can see major damage on the front. The window was busted out as well. And very sad, guys. 4 people died, 11 others seriously injured in this accident, and minor injuries to 34 other passengers on this bus. A very horrible, tragic accident there. Now from Max 25, the Ukrainian ballistic missile Sapsan successfully passed combat testing in May 2025 and is being launched into serial production, according to Valentin Badrok, director of the Center for Army Research. The missile is a powerful weapon. Its warhead weighs 480 kilograms. So just a few days ago, we actually had reports that there was a missile that reportedly was being test fired, like in the eastern side of Ukraine, I think in like the Donetsk region. And it reached up to like 200 kilometers away from the front line, something like that. And Ukraine successfully struck some Russian command posts. And allegedly, we didn't know what type of missile it was that was being announced. They weren't really talking about that, but apparently it's called the Sapsan, which is a Ukrainian-made ballistic missile. This is apparently a photo of that as well. So very big news. Ukraine will now have a ballistic missile they can start using to strike Russian targets. Now from Ukrainian Review, the number of those who support the bill on devastating sanctions against Russia is growing in the U.S. Congress, Senator Lindsey Graham reports. We now have more than 84 co-sponsors in the Senate and 70 co-sponsors in the House of Representatives on a bill to impose severe sanctions and tariffs on Russia and its financial backers, he said. Okay, so still more talk that this bill is still gaining support, but so far Congress has not held a vote on this, whether they're going to sanction Russia. This is including potentially 500% secondary tariffs onto any nation that purchase Russian oil and other commodities that get added to this bill, and could force Russia to end this war if they can no longer sell their oil to other countries. Okay, so just some updates here. They've gained more co-sponsors on this bill, but otherwise have not held a vote for it just yet. Now for Bliskovka, Ukraine is no longer interested in continuing negotiations with the Russian Federation if a ceasefire is not agreed upon, said Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. We saw the complete inadequacy of the Russian delegation. They demand our surrender, he added. Okay, so what he's talking about here is this ultimatum that was handed over to Ukraine at the last meeting between the Russian and Ukrainian delegation in Istanbul and Turkey. So apparently Ukraine is now coming out saying they're no longer interested in continuing negotiations. They are done negotiating with Russia. But apparently he was also calling today. I saw some reports that he was asking for like a presidential meeting between Zelensky and Putin. But most likely Putin is not going to hold any meeting with Zelensky. He's already come out multiple times saying that he would not do that. So I doubt that will be the case. But looks like bad results coming out of the talks between Ukraine and Russia. They will not be negotiating anymore, meaning this war is going to continue. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to share a few updates that I was able to find for you today over here on X. If we get more information out of the war from the Ukraine-Russia war, I will give you guys more video updates later on, maybe today or tomorrow. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. We'll see you in the next one.